gentlemen, it's the Big Jiu-Jitsu Show. I'm Rob.
I'm Randy.
We're back with another episode. We're a little under the weather, I think, so
Yeah.
we apologize for not sounding as beautiful as we normally do. But well, you get what you pay for, I guess, is the best way to put it. So we do this because we love you, not because we're making millions of dollars on it yet. If we get up to Joe Rogan level, then I'll apologize more, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. And then, well, I won't say that. I was going to say something inappropriate, but I'm not going to. I love Joe Rogan, but it was going to be very much drug related. Anyway.
Ooh.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, I get that. I can't do that. Can't do
No, I
that.
can't either. I can't either.
But as usual, we are sponsored by Trapper Roll Soap Company. I'll have a link in the description. Go check them out. And then, as I said, just it's me and Randy talking today, and quite a bit's happened the past couple of weeks. We had the UFC last night. That was
Hmm.
cool. I guess we'll chat a little bit about that. So you had one match you really wanted to talk about.
Hmm.
I did that judo tournament as
Yeah.
never doing a judo competition ever, and I think I learned a lot from it, to be honest with you, in the sense of I always joke saying that, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it basically just came from judo anyways, just with some refinement, different focuses and stuff like that. But man, like just trying to take people down and throw them on their backs is really hard, especially if they don't want you doing it to them.
And they're trained.
And they're
Yeah.
trained. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been like 5 years since I've competed in anything. Just because I mean, we COVID, whatever, but like I just after a while, I was like, I'm kind of content just training. So try out judo. I want to learn judo to get better at takedowns and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
I showed up, and uh, Austin, who was actually on the show a few weeks ago, he was the one running. It was a great tournament. Had a good time. He said, "Hey, we're just combining all the advanced everybody into one section for you." And I mean, I did really well. My first match went for the hardest foot sweep I've ever thrown. Completely missed it. And the guy just grabbed me both hands and just like power slammed me right flat on my back.
Dang.
Just forced me down. It was good though. It sucked, but I was like,
Was that an Ippon?
that was an Ippon.
All right.
I landed. I was like, yeah, it cannot get any worse now. Like we can only go up
Yeah.
tournaments from now on.
Yeah. I mean, how are the nerves since it's been a while?
I was pretty nervous, honestly, but like it was one of those weird, like I was nervous not because I was like, I got to do good. I was just like, I hope I remember what I'm supposed to do here. Because, if I duck down, like, we're having a jujitsu match,
Hmm.
like it does make it easier for me to get thrown and stuff like that because, the focus on what you can score points with. Um, to me, it was like a win-win. I'm like, it's my first judo tournament. I've never done judo. If I lose, guess what? I'm supposed to.
Now, in judo, you can't do like double legs, can you?
In this tournament, you can. So they'll let
Okay.
so it's not the official like Olympic judo rule set or whatever it is. They did allow some of the older rules to go with it.
Hmm.
But me being me, I didn't want to trying to learn judo. Like I learned double legs in wrestling. Granted,
Yeah.
I'm not the best at them, but I feel like if I wanted to get the real judo experience, I wanted to hit a judo throw or takedown of some sort, not just be like what was it? Was it BJ Penn that like just backed off and just started double legging people and just jumping on their back and rear naked choking them in a judo tournament or something like
I
that?
think so. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, I didn't want
I
to do that.
I wonder how Greco guys would fare in a judo tournament.
I haven't really thought of that. I think it would be pretty
Inter
interesting to see.
I want to see a Greco versus judo tournament.
That would be cool, actually.
That'd be really cool.
Because I
Yeah.
mean, they do it
Yeah.
without like, and then now they can grab the gi top and everything.
Yeah.
That makes it
And
easier for them to throw.
and that's what would be interesting about it because, obviously the judo guys are accustomed to dealing with having lapels and sleeves, whereas the Greco guys wouldn't be used to that. But
Right.
it'd be cool to see because we had a guy who used to train TFTC, John Wechter. He was an alternate for the U.S. men's national team for Greco. Um, Dude was built like a freaking superhero too. But his takedowns were incredible, but they were so different
Yeah.
from what you're used to seeing. Like his whole game was different. I mean, how he like notched his feet towards you and kind of marched you down was very imposing. And I learned a lot about hand fighting from him. and I've brought that into my takedown game. But I tend to lean more toward wrestling.
Yeah.
Um, TFTC has kind of always benefited from, for whatever reason, we've always had some kind of high level wrestler that trains at our gym. We used to have Mark Jihad that would coach some high school wrestling programs before earlier in the day and would stay and train. And then we had Wechter and we Luke Albrecht drops in quite a bit. And then now we've got Anthony that was a D1 wrestler at Gardner Webb, and I've been working a lot with him on my takedowns. That's been helping a lot. So I'm kind of the opposite of you. I go more wrestling based, but I think that's cool you did that. I feel like if I were to try to go and like drop in on some college wrestling meet, I would get destroyed. So I'm probably not going to follow your journey there, buddy. But
It's not bad. I'll tell you the worst part was waking up the next day and I'm yeah, just because it was a flat slam right on my back.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I already have not like bad back issues, but I just kind of took a couple more seconds having to sit up out of bed.
Did knock the wind out of you?
It didn't. So like
Okay.
I'm happy with that. Did my break fall on top of it, even though I was in a really weird like coming down position. So I was happy with that, but
Did you Kia?
no, I didn't.
Damn.
I should have. Now the guy who I competed against, I'm sure he heard it because he looked at me afterwards. I hit flat on my back and not much of a Kia, but a very like, god damn it. Like, because I landed and he looked at me, I'm like, it's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
Like, I know exactly what because I threw my leg hard
hmm hmm
and just tried to do the like the big twist of the upper body, and he just
hmm
gently stepped back and just like Donkey Kong me flat on my back. So
How big was this guy?
I don't know his weight. He was taller than I was, and I'll give
hmm
this. When I shook his hand, I said, "Holy shit, that guy's got a huge hand. Like bigger than mine, dude. You know I got some
Damn.
big hands."
Yeah,
So
man.
I was pumped for it. I was excited. I was like, "This is gonna be cool, man." Like like I said, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
So if I get beat up by a big dude, I'm okay with it. It's all right. But that was good. I'll jump back in the ring here at some point. See how I do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard to top your MMA experience, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Debut fight, title fight, knockout win, right?
Yeah. And then I
Yeah.
retire right after.
Yeah.
Easy.
Why not? Why not? I
No,
was on the opposite end of that kind of debut fight, get knocked out. I'm like, oh, well,
yeah,
shit.
it happens though. Like
Yeah.
I think the older I get, the because it used to be, I don't know if you experienced this too, but it was a lot of like I have to win.
Hmm.
I don't think you understand. I have to win. Like all
Right.
these matches, nobody can beat me. Not because I'm good, but like I can't let them.
Right.
I have to show the gym I'm good. I have to show I'm dedicated. I'm the best. Like I have to represent well. And then you lose. You're like, dude, it's fucking bullshit.
Yep.
Should beat them. Like
Yep.
that was mid 20s to early 30s. Now I'm just like, shit happens. I guess. Like
I think there's a lot to be said about that. The stress that you put on yourself about your performance, and it can be detrimental, I think, if you put too much of it on you, right? Everybody wants to win. Nobody wants to go out and lose.
yeah,
Um, but I think it almost becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. I was so stressed about losing that I had a nightmare about it the night before my fight, and then it came true. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I think you could put too much on yourself, and that's what I took away from that. Um, it is what it is. I mean, yeah, I think that's great you went in there and did that though, buddy.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. See if we can find some pictures of it. But last night, UFC.
Yeah.
Like I know you wanted to talk. Was it Jillian Anderson?
Yeah, Robertson.
Robertson, dude, I'm thinking
It's,
about the X-Files. Like, God damn
I
it.
was like, it's
Hey, Jillian Anderson's in the UFC. This is a great day for me.
yeah, yeah. Um, sorry, I had to spray something at my cat because she decided she wanted to join the podcast.
Oh no, you're
Um, so yeah, Jillian Robertson fought Polyana Viana. Hopefully not butchering their names, but it was in the prelims last night,
yeah.
and I don't know, it just struck me as being pretty cool. And the commentating crew kind of talked about it as well. She's a very high level jiu-jitsu practitioner. I want to say they said she was a black belt. I think Viana was a brown belt. And Jillian came out there and apparently had said before the fight that she wanted to win this fight, utilizing her jiu-jitsu, but really fighting it as a mixed martial artist and not being solely a jiu-jitsu person. And it showed in the way that she fought the fight because she used it to positionally dominate and control her opponent and the dish out punishment. But she didn't really take a lot of unnecessary risks to try to chase the submission, right?
Right.
Um, for example, at one point she got in a mount. She was working her ground and pound strategically. She wasn't just flailing unnecessarily. She was really taking calculated shots to try to bait a response, a defensive response out of her opponent. And maybe that would set up a back take or an armbar. And at one point she went for a belly down armbar from top from mount, shin across the face um, from top, which I've been really working on improving on and building into my game when I roll is historically we've been taught what you go somebody you're in mount, somebody tries to bench press you off, or they give you an
Yeah.
arm, you spin around, or even go to S mount and then sit back for an arm bar. S mount, phenomenal position,
Yeah.
but why not finish while staying on top? So get into S mount, drag your shin across their face, and finish from top, as
Uh-huh.
opposed to falling all the way back and potentially losing position because they bridge and roll at the right time when they feel the weight is alleviated or whatever. And so you saw that happen, and actually, the girl did do that. She bridged and rolled, and she had to follow the armbar. She ended up finishing it, but later on, she gets back in mount. Is again calculated shots, looking for the submission opportunity. It didn't really present itself, and she ended up winning the fight by ground and pound TKO. To me, what I saw there, and I was thinking about it, is you see mixed martial arts go through evolutions over the years. Obviously starting with Royce Gracie shocking the world with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and we didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
But it's gone through evolutions where then you saw strikers come in, right? Strikers had their era where they were dominant, knocking everybody out, and the sprawl and brawl idea, throwing my favorite fighter's name out there as a reference is Jens Pulver. He became an expert at the sprawl and brawl. He had a high level college wrestling background, had devastatingly powerful hands, and a good boxing game. So he would sprawl and brawl, keep the grapplers from hitting the ground, and he'd win the fight that way. Um, so then you saw the shift, and you saw wrestlers dominating with takedowns and top game control. And then jiu-jitsu started kind of losing some ground to the wrestlers in the MMA world. And I think what we saw yesterday, in my opinion, from Jillian Robertson is kind of an example of how jiu-jitsu is becoming is getting ready to enter in possibly another era of dominance because now she had good takedowns, which that's been a criticism on jiu-jitsu historically for the
Yeah.
past few years is that they were neglecting the takedown game. A la why you went to judo and I'm training wrestling is because we don't want to have that hole in our game, right?
Right.
So she scores the good takedown, she gets control and utilizes jiu-jitsu to completely dominate and control her opponent from top, dishing out punishment, which is why mount you get points for it in competition, right? Is because it's a position where you can technically dish out punishment from.
Hmm.
Um, Gets to mount, controls mount. If the submission's there and it's in your face and it's a high percentage finish, there's nothing wrong with going for it. But what I'm getting at is like you see the evolution, and I think I'm happy to see it because what I'm not a big fan of is the movement of people that come into jiu-jitsu, they get caught with the sport bug and they just want to invert without putting in the work, without context, and they want to go right to leg locks and heel hooks and shit without at least learning the hierarchy, right? The defend position submission hierarchy of jiu-jitsu and actually develop good guard passing, good control from top. I'm not saying leg locks are bad. No, I'm neutral about them. They're the same as any upper body attack. You should put in the work and be able to control good position, escape bad position, and defend yourself first. Like that should be the priority. And then all the other things come on later, in my opinion.
No, I agree with that. I think a lot of people, I can't believe I'm using this phrase because I kind of hate it. Putting the cart before the horse with some of their techniques and stuff. Like I know there's I'll see in some groups, some of the jiu-jitsu groups I'm a part of, some of the like clubs and stuff like that. And they'll be, hey guys, guess what? We're gonna be working some leg locks today. And I just want to be like, hey, how's y'all's guard passing game? Like, is that any good? Or
Right.
like it's almost become this if you are focused on leg locks and not the basics. Like it's you're gonna eventually hit this point where somebody's gonna shut down your leg locks and you have no answer for
Right.
anything else they do. There was a I'm trying to remember the kid's name. Basically, he was they call him the adult slayer. He's out of New York, 10th Planet guy. And basically he grabs a leg lock and just rips it and like
Hmm.
injures people. That's what they're
Hmm.
saying. He had a match recently where the guy just shut down his leg locks and he just crushed him for
Right.
15 minutes and then subbed him because he had no other answers. Like he had no answers aside from if I can just run for the leg lock and hopefully, rip it off this guy's body, then I win. But he couldn't do that. The guy shut down his leg locks and he kind of just floundered there,
Yeah.
just getting smashed because he had no answer. He had no answer for the basics. His guard was getting past easy. Like, not saying he wouldn't beat my ass, but what I am saying is I can recognize when somebody has got major holes in their game.
Hmm. Well, and that's what I'm getting at
Like,
too. And everybody's got a different purpose for training in jiu-jitsu, right?
yeah,
And so I'm not saying that everyone should train with the same exact purpose in mind, but I feel like the vast majority of our audience probably consists of um, people that do this as a hobby, as a passion, not as like their primary source of income, right?
yeah,
They're not, on the professional circuit. There might be some out there that are, and that's great. But I think when you look at it, um, most of us should have a well-rounded game and a solid understanding of the foundations, right?
yeah,
Yeah, train heel hooks, train toe holds, train knee bars, train ankle locks, train all those different things. But make sure that you actually, like you said, can pass a guard, can regard, can defend a bad position. Make sure you have that understanding first. Because I mean, at the highest level, if you don't, you're gonna get smashed anyway. Because all those guys at the higher level, all those guys and girls at the higher level know how to defend that shit too.
yep,
So, um, you're gonna have to be able to get back to that place, right? Like, I mean, how often was that a thing when you were coming up through jiu-jitsu? You wanted to work on your kimura or your, you know, uh, triangle or whatever submission or sweep, and you get one attempt at it from the very beginning, and you never found yourself back in that position again. I think some of the higher level people are higher level because they can literally take the role wherever they want to go.
yeah,
So if I want to work back takes, I'm going to find a way to get back to attacking the back multiple times within a roll because I can control it to that point. And so it's the same thing with leg locks. Like if you have great leg locks, if you're amazing at attacking the heel from honey hole, that's fantastic. But if you can only find yourself in honey hole once in your match, then it doesn't mean shit because you're getting dominated the other 4 minutes, right?
yep.
Like, and so that's kind of what I'm getting at.
No, 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 you're right. I think what you're saying, there is a big difference between having one thing be the only thing you're good at, but being good at that thing to the point where you could make people go to the position you want
Yeah,
them to be in.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like so. I mean, like if you watch a lot of Gordon Ryan stuff, that's all he
Hmm.
does is he just makes them do whatever he wants them to do. He
Yep.
takes them from anywhere.
But I
But
guarantee that guy's fundamentals are fucking outstanding.
oh yeah,
Whereas with Gordon
absolutely.
Ryan, I mean, like he put in the work, right? So what's your take on like, do you think that there's hacks and shortcuts and shit that you can do to,
Ooh,
you know,
very touchy subject. I feel because so I think the only hack I feel some people will get in life in jujitsu or anything in general is sometimes just naturally being good at it.
Mhm.
Like that's just luck of the draw, dude. Like,
Yep.
and no matter like how hard some people train, they won't be a world champ. There's nothing wrong with that because, you know, there's so many other benefits of doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu and grappling and stuff like that that, if you don't make it, you don't make it. That's okay. I
Yeah.
think because there was something on Reddit recently too about I have to look the guy's name up, but basically they talked about was it ecological or organic jujitsu type stuff. Like these are all task-based games, and like all it is positional sparring, and it's not a hack. I don't think it's people need to stop calling it a hack.
Right.
Um, Nothing will ever beat drilling and hard work. Like there's a reason muscle memory exists. There's a reason in your experiences in law enforcement as well. Like when stress hits, you go back to what your training is, like how good your training is.
Yep.
And if you drill, S mount armbar from mount, like from top over and over and over and over again, like as soon as you feel that little shift in pressure, you've got it.
Yep.
Whereas like you said, you may not get to, the back every roll because you're just like you don't know how to get to the back every roll. You don't force people to get to the back every roll.
Hmm.
You kind of just hope it happens. Whereas if I can drill was like bullfighter pass, one of my favorite guard passes when I'm standing. That's all I drilled, like over and over and over and over and over. And I love it. And I feel
Hmm.
like I have a really good bullfighter pass. But it's also because now, what is it? I do it so often that I know like the little pieces of it, as opposed to like, well, if they push, oh, now they're pushing, let me do it. I can feel it.
Yep.
Whereas like I'm sure some of your moves, you don't need the giant telegraph that they're going to do something. You can feel that slight pressure change,
Yep.
and that's when you hit it. So I feel like a lot of these hacks or a lot of these, it's no different than like a get rich quick scheme.
Yep.
There's no shortcut to it. It's either you have like ridiculously good talent and you just naturally are good at it,
Hmm.
or you drill it to death. Like I can't think of any schools that have a ton of world champions or like a very competitive school that don't drill all the time.
I agree. And I think that I think that's a perfect analogy too, though, is the get rich quick scheme. Because in jiu-jitsu, that would be the equivalent of winning the genetic lottery, right?
Yeah.
Like the only way to get rich quick is to win the lottery. So, the only way to get really good at jiu-jitsu really fast is to hit the genetic lottery, right? That's about it. Otherwise, you got to do it like everybody else by making small investments in your bank account repeatedly over time. And that time, those deposits are time on the mat. And training with now, what can you do to help yourself be more efficient? Well, I mean, nothing's ever going to replace discipline, humility, and hard work. Nothing's ever going to replace those three things.
Absolutely.
Um, if you're only showing up once every other week, your progress is going to be very, very slow. If you want to make faster progress, it means show up more often, right?
Yeah.
There's a quote that they use a lot, and they brought it up at the Invictus Jiu-Jitsu seminar I went to in New York earlier, or at the end of last year, and they said train a little, a lot, and
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty awesome, right? It's exactly what it is, and to make yourself more efficient, open your mind up, right? Reduce your ego. Otherwise, you're just fighting yourself. Train more often and have a purpose behind your training. I think that's really about all you can do and stay healthy. Like
Yeah.
that because if you get injured or you're sick all the time, like you and I are sick now, but how often do we get sick? Maybe once or twice a year, right?
Yeah.
This is like a blip in the radar. I'm not even worried about my jiu-jitsu right now. Like I'll watch some videos and shit, but I'm not like, oh my God, I'm missing a week of jiu-jitsu. It'll be fine. It'll be fine because this is insignificant in the grand scheme of things. If anything, I'm getting a little bit of recovery in. But if you're getting injured all the time because you're just being stupid about your training, which probably comes back to ego, right? Um, well then guess what? Every time you miss 2 months of training, you're falling backward. So I think that's really it. That's the only formula. There is no, like you said, there's no hack. There's no hack. And everybody's a little bit different. I would think that people that come in with like a wrestling background from high school or college, um, the learning curve isn't quite as steep for them in the beginning because being on the ground and being able to create leverage and find movement opportunities and all that type of stuff, find space, it's already there. You've already put in the work for that. But that
Yeah.
that to me, that time counts, right? You still were on the mat, grinding it out, working on shit for all those years in high school or college. And I agree with you that Reddit thing about, just figure it out from this position. Like this is your position. No, fuck that. You've got to have a foundation. And then you can start incorporating those drills. And there's all different kinds of drills we can work on. Um, Adam at TFTC does a fantastic job on his Wednesday class of incorporating different types of drills, even up to including combat jiu-jitsu rounds so that you're having to worry about defending against strikes. And what you find with that is shit, space is the enemy. And what I love about that is it opens your brain up because now, like, let's say you're on top of me in my half guard,
Yeah.
right? Well, in traditional jiu-jitsu, like you're gonna stay heavy, you're not gonna give me any space, and you're gonna smash past my half guard and get into a better spot. But if we introduce the element of strikes, now you might decide, you know what? I'm in top half guard. I'm in a good position right now to throw a couple strikes. And maybe that'll help me pass his guard, right? And so then you posture up, and then I'm like, oh shit, Rob's about to drop the bomb on me. So I sit up with you and I win an underhook. And now we're working from dogfight, which maybe that's not a position that I'm typically accustomed to finding myself in. So I think drills like that can open your mind. But again, like you said, drilling and appropriate intensity sparring, right?
Yeah.
And technique. Nothing can ever replace that.
I like thinking about it now too when you bring in striking. I thought about this kind of like as soon as you said the figure it out on your own. Like, why does jujitsu have to be the only one that's like, oh, figure it out on your own type thing? Like, they don't do that with boxers. They don't do that with
No,
kickboxers. No
no,
striking art does that
no.
because like my jab will look stupid. They're like,
Yeah,
Rob, figure it out. I'm like,
yeah, yeah,
because that's all I did. Like, Ryan and Neil and all them, there's jab, 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 jab. Like, I'm sick of jabs. I'm still sick of jabs. I don't want to do any more jabs.
yeah, yeah. So your
But
left shoulder falls off.
yeah, exactly. But
Yeah,
the jab's not bad. So
yeah,
you
yeah,
can't just like figure it out. And I'm swimming my way through jabs, looking like trash. I get knocked out.
yeah,
Like, why is that? Yeah, jujitsu has to be the same in my opinion. You need to know every detail of it. You get like the macro details, then you go to the real micro details.
yeah,
So it's no longer like make sure your elbow is perfectly underneath their elbow or whatever. Now it's like twist your arm just that much and flex your wrist.
yeah.
That makes it, that sets the submission in faster.
Now, I do think I'm a big proponent of this, and I do this with law enforcement too. And I do this at TFTC when I coach. I am a huge fan, a huge proponent of conceptual learning.
Yeah.
Like I think learning the principles and the concepts behind jiu-jitsu, so the whys.
Mm-hmm.
We teach the how all the time. And the how is certainly important, and you can't get anywhere in this game without the how. But you also have to know the why behind the how.
Yeah.
And I think that the deeper you get into this jiu-jitsu journey, the more why you figure out. But you got to give them the basis of it, right? And then it's what's weird, and I'm sure you've experienced it. I think everybody experiences this. What's weird about jiu-jitsu too, and it's like anything else. It's not like it's unique to just jiu-jitsu, is the deeper your understanding gets, all of a sudden these techniques or these ideas or these concepts that made no sense to you 2 years ago, or all of a sudden like this like nugget of wisdom that you're like, holy shit, now I get it.
Yeah.
And I think that's another reason why there's no hack, because I think there's also a maturity that you have to develop on the mats where you're just not ready to receive that information yet. And so you spent a certain amount of time doing the thing.
And like it makes the difference at the end too, because like you said, it's a concept. You understand it just finally clicks, right?
Yep. Yep.
Everybody's had that, like you said, that movement click. Like, why aren't my triangles working? Then you just understand the concept
Yep.
just a little bit better. And
But you probably wouldn't have gotten that if you hadn't done the triangle and failed 300 times.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So I think that's jujitsu, man. That's the way it is. And it's really a microcosm for life because I feel like that same thing happens on a lot of different pursuits that you go after. You just gotta put in the time and the work. There's nothing you can do to replace that.
no,
You know, if you're in the weight room, hey, people always talk about steroids. You know what's funny about steroids, dude?
yeah,
Steroids don't do the work for you. It just
no,
makes it to where you can do the work more often. That's all steroids are doing is helping with, I mean, I'm not a doctor, but like my understanding of anabolic steroids is that they're basically allowing the person taking them to train harder more often. And that's what gives them the results. They still got to put in the fucking work.
yeah. You just sit there and just get your thigh. I'm like, well, it's in the hands of the steroids now.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it doesn't work out that way from what I
No,
understand.
no.
There were a few guys I worked with. I'm like, oh, okay. And they were open about it. Like, yeah, you have to like actually
Yeah.
lift hard and lift heavy for to get any results. Otherwise,
Well, you've heard of Mark Bell, right?
Mark Bell.
Mark Bell. Mark, they call him Smelly. He's a lifter, not a jiu-jitsu guy. He might
Yeah,
train
there he is.
jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Yeah, he
Mark
might train.
Smelly Bell.
Yeah, he might train jiu-jitsu too. I don't know. But the guy is a fucking beast, right? And he's definitely a recognized expert within the strength and conditioning community, powerlifting, bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And he's open about the fact that he takes steroids, open about it. But, you look at that guy's stuff. Dude, that guy works his ass off. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying I'm an advocate for or against steroids. For me, nah, I'm just an average dude. I don't need to use that shit. But my opinion on whether professional athletes should be able to use it has changed over the years. If you're talking about professional athletes and professional athletes, like there's a lot of them that are using it anyway. So, but don't use steroids, kids.
Yeah,
Don't
no.
use
Oh,
don't fuck your life up like that,
jeez.
right?
Yeah. Like 17 years old and yeah, we've seen it too because we
Yeah.
had who was the Olympic runner that got busted with steroids from her husband? Was it
I'm not sure.
Flojo?
I don't know. It's a
Well,
good
anyways,
question.
her husband worked at a local high school, and a couple of football players got real big real fast. So
Oh, wow.
I was like, yeah, don't do it that young. I feel like you're gonna run into some real problems when you get older.
Yeah. 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 Don't do that shit.
Depressing. Damn it. Brought the mood down right at the end. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. Then it shrinks your dick, apparently. I don't know.
Apparently.
I don't know. I don't use it, so mine hasn't shrunk, but that's just what I've heard.
Nice. Oh man. So before we head out, do you have anything for our friends and listeners aside from don't do steroids, it's gonna shrink your dick?
No, man. No. Hey, I hope you feel better, Rob.
Oh, thanks, man. I hope you do too. Like
Yeah.
it's like you said, these are it one, it's funny that you and I actually got sick about the same time. And
And we
two,
didn't and we didn't even train together recently. So
yeah,
it's not like it's just one of those things. We must be on the same cycle.
it might be.
Yeah.
Allegedly, there's some shit going around. So
Everywhere. I mean, this weather is ridiculous. I mean, it was like 15 degrees last night and it's going to be 70 by the end of the week. So, I
oh
mean,
yeah, I'm getting super sick again, I guess. Yeah, Wednesday it's gonna be like highest. Oh geez, it's gonna be 75 on Friday out here. So
yeah.
and it's warmed up a bit. It's 38. So
Oh yeah, great. That's like smoldering.
hell yeah. Yeah, so I don't have anything either. Don't do steroids, it'll shrink your dick. I agree with
Yeah.
that. Hopefully you
Yeah.
feel better as well soon.
Appreciate it, man.
Anytime. And ladies and gentlemen, it's another episode of the Big Jiu Jitsu Show. I'm Rob.
I'm Randy.
We'll catch you guys next time.